welcome you to the 17th Annual Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame Induction Dinner. My name is Bruce Lukey. I'll be your MC for the evening. I've been involved in the game of softball since I started playing in a small town in Saskatchewan when I was 16. Did that for 20 years. Decided that I knew more than the umpire, so I decided I would try that out for a while, and I've been doing that for the last 15 years. Do a lot for the game here in Brandon, hosting provincial championships and such, and really honored to be here and share the evening with you. Want to thank the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. Wishes to thank each and every one of you for attending and supporting our newest group of inductees. And at this time, I'd like to ask our 2018 Hall of Fame inductees to please stand and be recognized. And of course, we'll do it more formally later on in the evening. I'd also like to introduce some of our dignitaries that are in attendance tonight. Please join me in welcoming Member of Parliament for Brandon Souris, Larry McGuire. The MLA for Brandon East, Len Islison. The MLA for Agassiz and Minister of Indigenous and Municipal Relations, Eileen Clark. For St. Patel, Colleen Mayer. At this time, I'd like to ask Wayne Miller to come up to the stage to say grace. Wayne.
Good evening. Please join me in and bow your heads while I lead us in grace. Lord, as we assemble this evening for this ceremony, we are mindful and give thanks that we are again fortunate to gather in this fellowship. We thank you for family and friends, for times like these where we can gather together, share in food and companionship. Please bless this meal and all that it means. May the food nourish us and the fellowship enrich our lives. Amen.
Thank you, Wayne. Dinner will now be served. Enjoy your meal as well as the company at your table.
We're going to move forward with the rest of our program. And then we'll take a little bit of a break before we start our induction ceremony. At this time, I'd like to ask Murray Blight, President of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you, Bruce. I always like to start off with the evening as welcome, but how about a big round of applause for Bruce Lupke? As he said, ball player and umpire, and you know, he enjoys the sport, and radio announcer. I mean, it's like when you figure out how many trades you've had over your lifetime, and I got thinking, you know, Jesus, I think I've had about 12 since even retiring from the police. But anyway, saying that. I'm standing up here and I'm looking out at the crowd, and I don't know about you, but I get goosebumps. I get emotion. It's such a great feeling to see so many of you out there that you participated with, you played against, you met. You know, it brings back memories going to the fields of, we'll say, Lenore, Manitoba, to Charlie Krupp, to St. Anne, to places, and seeing the people of yesterday, but here this evening. And that's something that I just can't say enough to encourage, get people involved with the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. Because you know what, people, and I've said this, and you've heard me say it for the last several years, if we don't continue in keeping this agency, this organization in existence, we're not going to be able to meet here tonight or any other night. So it depends. And I mean, our association, as I'm 29, I wish I was, but we need some new blood, and I believe in that. And I'm not just saying in the political world, but we need to be creative. We need to be imaginative. We need to make this be successful. And that's the whole objective of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, is keeping this afloat. So on behalf of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame directors, welcome to our annual event. Some of you may know that every 3 years it's in Brandon, Manitoba. And of course, here we are tonight, and a lot of familiar faces and sponsors, and you can see some of the different sponsors that have patronized to the program. Have to admit, there was one boo-boo. There's a leaflet insert in the program. Wasn't intent. I mean, my 4 eyes just didn't work it, and somebody else's, and whatever. But apologize, but we made sure it was included. Tonight is a night where the inductees are able to interact and reminisce some of the softball memories from the past. And I remember from the past, some of them coming as far as from Calgary or California, British Columbia, you know, places of kind where they haven't seen one another for years and years and years. And, you know, I find that inspiring. In fact, I was reading the handbooklet. If you look in the handbooklet, in the inception since 2002, there's been 171 individuals inducted into Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. There's been 46 teams inducted in the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. So, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, there's been a lot of work from previous executive, previous board members to keep it going. So, I mean, as I say, without any hesitation, this is how many of us remain involved with the game. That's why I'm here, because there's so many people out there that should be considered, but we need nominations. We need player nominations. We need team nominations. We're trying to be, as I say, imaginative, creative in how to get you to participate. Don't be shy. I've never been shy. Well, not for the longest time. To say, come, we'll give you some guidance and some direction to help. But, I mean, I'm sure everybody out there. I've had some people that should be in the hall, but we need the information from whoever the nominators are. So anyway, I want to continue on here because we got a lot to get going, and Bruce saying, come on, keep it short, whatever. But without this event, I want to introduce the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame board. So, Vice President Gord Woolley, would you stand and remain standing? Gord Woolley, Vice President. Secretary Fred Spearing. Treasurer Les Newman. Director Al McPherson. We also have past President Al Sharp and Director Garth German. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your board. This year, we, again, as a board, how do we get people involved? Well, maybe not everybody wants to be on as a director, executive position. So we have, and these people have done so much work in making this ceremony successful. The presentation PowerPoint, the auction prices. Lori and Wayne Miller, please stand. I can't say enough for the work they've done. So, various thank yous, and Bruce, I don't want to take your thunder away, but I want to just say thank you to the selection committee, and of course the facilitator, Gord Woolley, the program and auction sponsors. Westman Communications, thank you. They're recording it and the event and of this ceremony, and hopefully through Fred's. And God, this man's got some ideas about the website if you look in the program. So who knows, this virtual museum we're talking about and making things easier to pay and all that good stuff. A couple of things that I'm going to announce too. We just signed a 3-year contract with the Victoria Inn. For next year's event, it's going to be in Winnipeg. The next following year, it's going to be in Winnipeg. And the next year after that's in Brandon, Manitoba. So Victorian is going to be the host facility. So it's, of course, this time, actually it's about May 9th. It's in the book, but it's a week later, just to be able to get the booking in place. So the other thing is a reminder, mark it on your book, your calendar, is the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame is going to be having their annual meeting on Thursday, September 12th, 7 p.m. at the Victoria Inn. So maybe you'd like to get involved. We don't want to just throw you, say, okay, you're going to be a director or committee, unless you're inspired that you want to do that. But maybe there's a committee. Maybe it's like fundraising. Maybe it's like bylaws. Maybe it's whatever. It could be beneficial. You know, so everyone's got a particular trade or has, you know, can help out the agents. So anyway, so that's something else. So what in conclusion, thank you for coming on behalf of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Murray. Thanks, Murray. One other person just I'd want to recognize, we missed when we did the dignitaries early. Please welcome Bill Finch, the president of Softball Manitoba, who's here with us tonight. On page 6 of your program, you'll find a complete list of all the previous Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame individual and team inductees. I would ask any of those that were previously inducted to please stand and be acknowledged at this time. Okay. Since our last induction dinner, we're sorry to announce that several members of the softball community have left us. I would ask that we observe a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you. The board would like to take this opportunity to extend their gratitude and appreciation to the sponsors that have contributed to our banquet's success tonight, and please be sure to check out those ads found throughout the program. And thanks to everyone who supported the Hall of Fame through the purchase of lifetime or annual memberships, as well as your support through other donations. Big thank you also to all who assisted the board tonight in hosting this induction banquet and ceremony. Your continued support enables the Hall of Fame Museum Board to hold our induction ceremony and operate the museum in Portage-La Prairie. The museum is always looking for pictures of memorabilia of anything related to softball, equipment, uniforms, jackets, crests, bats, balls, scrapbooks, newspaper clippings, photographs. New displays will be in place and the new photo gallery continues to expand. Unfortunately, at this time, we're not accepting any physical items of memorabilia. At the back of the room tonight, Corey Essen from Heavy Metal Design has a display of Hall of Fame rings for sale. Inductees, be sure to take a look at the display. And anyone else who may be interested is welcome to speak with Corey as well. And please note that photography by Sandy Black's in attendance at tonight's ceremony, and we'll have some high-quality photos of tonight's event available for order and purchase. You can contact Photography by Sandy Black and Brandon for more information on that. Les Newman, the treasurer, is glad to provide a tax receipt to anyone making a financial contribution tonight to the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame and Museum. He's seated at table 29. Lifetime members are listed in page 4 of your program. And on page 5, the program information is outlined regarding the nomination process. Nominations are reviewed by an independent selection committee, which makes the final decision on individuals and teams that will be inducted each and every year. Once again, the members of the committee did an excellent job. Selection committee members this year were Arnold Asham, Cliff Bishop, Don Campbell, Wayne Descour, Fred Ham, Jim Ney, and Smitty Radomski. Should you be interested in nominating an individual team, please pick up a nomination form found at the back of the banquet room, where you can also download a copy from the Softball Manitoba website. Nomination deadline each year, September the 1st. And on page 1 of your program, you'll find information on the operation of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame Board, as well as Murray mentioned that. Some of you may have already checked out the items at the silent auction and purchased tickets. They will be for sale again during the brief intermission we'll have before we start the induction ceremony. Tickets will continue to be sold until the intermission between the first and second half of the induction ceremony. And we will be inducting 8 individuals and 2 teams tonight into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, the first of which will begin in just a few minutes' time. At this time, we're going to take a short intermission, get you an opportunity to refresh your drinks and any other things that you might have to take care of. Would ask the first group of inductees to come forward to the front, those being Ed Gilroy, Ashley Lanz, Joe Mathis, Dave Botch, and the Gladstone Whips team and their team rep, Les Elchek. We'll take a quick 10-minute break and then we'll start our induction ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could get you to take a seat, we're going to begin our induction ceremony. Some of you may not have seen the awards that are presented to our inductees. Individuals and teams receive a large stained glass award in the shape of the province of Manitoba. Each team member receives a small stained glass award in the shape of home plate. These unique awards were prepared this year for the Hall of Fame by Denise Sodge of Stonewall. Inductees also receive a certificate to commemorate their induction into the Hall of Fame. In addition, permanent plaques with photos and text about the inductees have been produced. Laminated copies of those plaques can be ordered. Order forms are available at the memorabilia table or from the Hall of Fame board. Laminated copies are $38 when picked up in Winnipeg, $50 if mailed. Murray Blight will be making the award presentation, ably assisted by the lovely Al McPherson. And we'll now proceed with our first 4 individual inductions. First, the criteria. Any nomination for long-term accomplishment must cover a minimum of 2 years and a maximum of 6 years. Our inductees will remain on the stage until the presentations are complete. Our first individual inductee in the athlete category is Ed Gilroy. Ed Gilroy was passionate about sports and was a strong athlete while growing up in Portage-la Prairie. He began his fast-pitch softball career in 1961 playing with the Portage Dodgers of the Central Manitoba Fastball League. By 1966, Ed had begun playing in the Winnipeg Senior Fastball League and in '73 joined the Winnipeg Colonels of the Western Major Fastball League. The WMFL was and still is regarded as one of the highest levels of competitive fastball in Canada. Ed competed at his first of 3 Senior A National Championships as a player in 1968, bolstering a strong Olson Canadian team that represented Manitoba. He also played for his own team at the '72 Senior A Nationals and in '76 as part of the Terry Balkan You Betchas. Among his other highlights, he was playing for Manitoba at the inaugural Canada Summer Games in 1969, where he helped Manitoba to a 4th place finish. And after stepping away from fastball, Ed tried his hand at slow pitch softball and excelled there as well, competing in several world championships with a variety of teams. And he was part of the team that won the gold medal at the 2005 Western Canadian Tournament in Winnipeg. Ed was always considered a strong outfielder with a strong, accurate arm and combined timely hitting with a high batting average. Always a gentleman on and off the field, Ed made many friends out of teammates and opponents that enjoyed and shared his passion and love for softball. Please welcome to the athlete category of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, Ed Gilroy. Move that, Ed.
Well, I don't have to read this speech now. First of all, I'd like to thank the selection committee for this special honor tonight, especially for remembering me since my last year of fast pitch was 1977. Also, kudos to the organizing committee for packaging this wonderful induction banquet. Next, a shout out to my immediate family who are sitting over in this area here, as well as a group of boyhood buddies who I went to school with and played youth sports with while growing up in Portage la Prairie during the 50s. I was able to get them a couple of extra hours out of the manor to come to the banquet tonight. I was fortunate to play 16 years of men's fast pitch during a time when the game was booming across this province and across Canada. As was said, my first year I was recruited to play with the Portage Dodgers in 1961. I want to say a couple of words. The local Portage League back then was a very, very competitive league. Each of the teams could beat each other on a given night, and nobody talked to anybody on the other team. After the games, each of the 4 teams went to their own separate watering holes, and that was never to change. Another thing about Portage was it was an unbelievable, fastball became a spectator sport in Portage, and many's the time when the crowds, especially during the playoffs, stretched out all the way down both outfield lines. In '64, our Dodger team finally won that league and then defeated Dauphin to win the Manitoba Intermediate A Championship. Again, as was said, from '66 to '72, I played in the Winnipeg Senior League, beginning with a raucous crew called Concord Hotel. The Winnipeg Senior League in those days was undoubtedly the highest caliber league in the province. Those Concord Hotel teams that I played for 4 years were probably the best Manitoba team not currently in this Hall of Fame. During the '60s, I also had the opportunity to play for 2 highly skilled teams in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Fast pitch softball was huge in North Dakota in those years. One of the teams I played with, a team called Bobby's Lounge, all the teams were sponsored by those little hole-in-the-wall bars down there. One of my teammates was another one of my boyhood friends who's lived in Brandon for quite a while, that most of you know, Dave Shayak. It was very special to represent Manitoba at the first Canadian Summer Games in 1969 in Halifax. We played all week to packed houses, and our Manitoba team did very well. Eventually, we lost the bronze medal game to Alberta. During the winter of 1972, some visionary softball people decided that our great game was ready for the big time, and the Western Canada Major League Fastball was formed and play began in the spring of '73. Our Winnipeg franchise was sponsored by a great guy named Oscar Grubert, who happened to own all the Kentucky Fried Chicken outlets in Manitoba. Thus, shortly after coming on board, we became the Winnipeg Colonels. We entered the league that year with teams from Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, and Regina. Each of the franchises was basically a city all-star team with the addition of some powerhouse pitchers from all across North America. All games were played on the weekend with doubleheaders scheduled each day. I don't know if most of you would have known this, but all our travel, or 80-90% of our travel, was by airplane. All our expenses were covered, even down to a per diem for meals on the road. After a slow start, that first year we caught fire in the playoffs, and we defeated the Calgary team in the league final in front of about 1,200 people at Charlie Krupp Park. After 3 years with the Colonels, and mainly due to the enormous time commitment, I decided to return to what was then the Manitoba Senior League. And I hooked up with another great team, the Terry Boch and Ubetches, who represented Manitoba in the Nationals in 1976. During that first year, I was fortunate to be able to mentor Cliff Bishop, who's here tonight, who was in his first year of senior ball. And I mentored him so well that a few years later he threw a no-hitter in the Pan American Games. Just kidding, of course. I retired in 1970 and basically played no ball at all until the year 2000, when I started playing senior slow pitch in Winnipeg. And this spring, I'll be playing my 18th season of slow pitch. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed. Our second induction tonight in the athlete category is Ashley Lanz. Growing up, Ashley Lanz dreamed of becoming a member of Canada's senior women's national team. She began that journey at the age of 6, and by the time she was 21, she had achieved that dream, competing as part of Canada's national team from 2005 to 2012. She competed at many Senior A national championships representing Manitoba as part of a strong Smitty's women's softball team and was named top pitcher at the 2008 and 2009 events. Internationally, Ashley played for the Netherlands and the Czech Republic, as well as playing in the Italian Professional League. She was star pitcher for Minot State and was selected All-American Pitcher of the Year in 2005. Among her other achievements was being named top pitcher at the Pan Am qualifying tournament in 2005, and helping Team Canada win gold at the Olympic qualifier in 2007. Unfortunately, women's softball was dropped from the Olympic Games before she had a chance to compete there. Ashley continues to give back to the sport as a pitching instructor and a team coach. Please welcome to the athlete category for the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, Ashley Lanz.
Okay, hang on. All right, this is a pretty special day. I feel pretty privileged to be here. When I initially found out, I was super excited until I realized I had to speak in front of all of you, and I was like, take it back, take it back. I think it's important to thank the committee, obviously, like we've mentioned, for putting on this event. It's quite remarkable. Thank you so much for that. I also want to congratulate, obviously, the other inductees today for all your accomplishments and stuff like that. It's pretty humbling to be up here, especially standing next to someone like Jill, who I used to watch play. I used to watch her play as a child, and even though they probably weren't the biggest team, they definitely played with the biggest hearts, and they were the best role models. Thank you. It's actually quite humbling, again, hearing all that come back to you and what you've done over the years and stuff like that and all the accomplishments, but I never really played for stats. I always played to win, and I just hated losing. So the only time I really remember playing for numbers when my parents offered me wagers for throwing strikes. They said, for every strike you throw, we're gonna give you a quarter. Well, at 8 years old, I mean, that's a lot of money, you know? So, of course, as time goes on, you have to sort of up the wager. You have to, you know, increase the motivation. So they said, well, why don't we offer you $1 per strikeout? And I was like, all right, sounds good. Well, let's just say that's how I bought my first house. Just kidding. I'm pretty sure they stopped offering that when I was averaging about 15 strikeouts a game, and well, whatever works, right? Well, I'm pretty sure it worked. I've spent a lot of years on the softball field and a lot of hours pitching to that infamous home plate. Ironically, that home plate looks a lot like a house. And in that house comes a family, not only my own, but all the players, coaches, mothers, fathers, people I coached over the years that I consider my family as well. This home and everyone in it has given me a lot of great gifts. And not only through the sport, but in life. And I will continue to cherish that for the rest of my journey. I want to spend a special thanks to my husband, who I will thank later. Wink, wink. And to my friend Lee, who has traveled all the way from Calgary to be here today. She was there, she helped me rehab my knee when I dislocated it. We spent days, 2 times a day, so that I could go compete at the Pan American Games. And she's here today celebrating this with me. Thank you. I also want to thank and recognize Roy and Evelyn Helinski, who have always supported me on and off the field in more ways than I could ever repay them. And I still look forward to our coffee dates at Tim Hortons. Lastly, I have to thank my parents, this is gonna be the tough part, for driving me to all the practices, the tournaments, playing catch or making me play catch, for all the words of encouragement and maybe a little ass whooping from time to time to get me focused or to smarten up. I couldn't have done any of this without you guys. And all I can hope is that I will be able to do the same for my kids. So thank you so much, and everyone, for this very special opportunity today. It means, honestly, it means the world to me. So thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Our third inductee, again in the athlete category, is Jill Mathis. Mathis excelled at many different levels of softball, from minor to junior to senior to masters. She was a stellar center fielder and boasted a lifetime .444 batting average with the Smitty's senior women's team, helping her team win 5 gold medals at the Softball Canada Women's Championship from 1995 to 2000, and being recognized as the All-Star center fielder at the '97 event. She also won 2 gold medals at Indigenous Games, helping her teams capture titles at the 2002 North American Indigenous Games and the 2009 Canadian National Aboriginal Championship. Through it all, Jill demonstrated her strong leadership and intense commitment to her team and to the hard work that leads to success. It's been said that Jill was able to will her teammates to rise to the next level and to believe in themselves. Please welcome to the athlete category, the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, Jill Mathis.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the selection committee. I know that the amount of time that goes into being on a board and all of that, you need to know that all the time you put in is very much appreciated. To all of my fellow inductees, congratulations. I'll come around and shake your hands in a little bit. This is truly an honor. Other than the work that I do every day as a principal of a high school in Winnipeg, softball is one of those things that I have done more of than anything else. I've actually played up until about, I guess, 4 years ago. I played a little bit of masters, but I started at the age of 7. In my first practice, I remember throwing the ball and realizing that actually I probably shouldn't have thrown that hard, because a girl named Sandra Bowden, I don't know where she is now, but I knocked out her 2 front teeth. So sorry, Sandra, but not sure where she is today, but I think that's how I ended up in center field. I never had necessarily the strongest arm in the infield, but I knew I could usually get to most of the balls and make sure that they get somewhere into the infield. A couple other people I'd really like to thank is Evelyn and Roy Holinsky, who we stumbled upon each other probably in the early 80s, and Mr. and Mrs. Holinsky were able to find people to make a team. And if there's anything I learned in the game of softball, certainly is that it is team. And I spent a lot of time out here in Brandon-Souris area playing against Souris, and two teams that really needed each other at the time. Both at that time it was Winnipeg Jays, Smitty's, and Souris. We had such a high compete level. It was fabulous. And some of those people from those teams, I know Deb Baker and Bev Neufeld, who are very dear to this community, involved in the sporting community out here, were inducted in 2009, and they remain very true friends and dear friends to me. The other thing I'd like to say is softball sports for girls, young women, it's central in helping us get into the big world of career in our profession. It's those transferable skills that we learn how to lose, we learn how to win, we learn how to get along with people, we all know how to go towards a single goal as a group, and those kinds of skills ultimately in the workplace are so important. I just want to thank Softball Manitoba, everybody here tonight, my partner and my stepdaughters, Tasia and Emma, who have kindly driven out from Winnipeg to be here. Thank you so much. I noticed one thing. Our board of directors here from Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, outside of Lori Miller, there's only one woman. We need to get more women involved in the boards. Girls, put your hands up. These guys aren't all that. You can stand up and be a part and play a role. Get involved, ladies. We need you. So thank you, everyone, and everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Jill. Our fourth individual inductee in the all-around category is David Botch. David Botch had a long and illustrious career as both a player and a coach. As a player, Dave competed at 2 Canadian Senior A Championships and 7 Western Canadian Championships, while as a coach he attended 3 Softball Canada Championships at various levels. As a player, Dave was known for his slick defensive abilities, primarily at second base, as well as his high on-base percentage and batting average. In the latter part of his career, Dave won 2 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze medal as a member of many Manitoba Masters teams, and he also became a regular on many slow-pitch teams that represented the province nationally and internationally. Notably, Dave was an integral part of the team that won a gold medal at the 2004 World Slow Pitch Championship in Winnipeg. Please welcome to the all-around category of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, David Botch.
I'm not too sure why I'm taking this paper out, because there's not too much written on it other than some groceries to pick up. Anyway, a wise person, actually my wife, on the way to Brandon gave me some advice. And I always listen to good advice. And her advice was to make sure that I don't speak too long. Because if I don't, she said, people might only think you're an idiot. But if you ramble on and on, you'll remove all doubt. So I took that advice seriously and didn't prepare too much. Anyway, I'd like to start off by thanking certain people that made this selection possible. In my younger days, when I used to teach at Stony Mountain School, we had a fabulous superintendent named Gladwin Scott, and he was the one that nominated me. And he is in attendance tonight. I'd like Gladwin to stand up and show his presence. Gladwin, I don't know exactly how many years he spent in the Interlake, but he was for the students, and he thought that physical education was an important part of a student's development. And I did teach, in addition to other subjects, physical education, and that's my connection with Gladwin. We had many good times. In fact, I recruited him one time when we were playing in a volleyball tournament, and we ended up winning that tournament. It was one school against another school. I don't know if he remembers that. In addition to thanking Gladwin, I'd like to thank Softball Manitoba and the selection committee for selecting me. Baseball's been my life, the story of my life, as the song goes. I've been playing ball since I was in grade 3. In the early years, it was simply playing work your way up at school. So as soon as the bell rang, everyone would run out the door with a glove and a bat and a ball, and you'd run for your positions, and we played that for hours. We also played a game called end zone ball. I'd like to congratulate all of the other inductees tonight. I think it's a great accomplishment to spend a lifetime involved in a sport that you love so much and finally be recognized for it. I'd like to, thank my wife for making this possible. She's probably going to throw something at me later, but the night I proposed, I actually had a condition, and the condition was that I continue playing ball. She thought at the time, well, he's about 22 years old, he'll probably play for about 10 years, and that'll be the end of it. Well, I'm still playing. Thanks, hon. Actually, my wife and I, we usually see eye to eye. We don't have many arguments, and I guess maybe the one or two we did have over the years had to do with the ball. And usually the argument would go, I'd be playing in a team that might have to go to a faraway place like Salem or maybe St. John's, Newfoundland, and the conversation always went the same. You're not going. Yes, I am. You're not going. Yes, I am. So on and so forth. And she'd always wash my uniforms, and everything would be set out for me. In fact, I don't even know how to use a washing machine. But anyway, she'd also pack my suitcase and stuff like that. She'd always accompany me on all trips. I don't think she ever missed one. But this one particular trip, when it was to Salem, and I saw all of the clothes in my closet being packed, I knew that something was wrong. But anyway, we both ended up going to Salem, and we ended up having a good time. So, but anyway, that's like when I had to play ball, when there was a tournament, the only time I'd ever miss is, I guess, if somebody shot me in the leg or I had a bad injury. So thank you, hon, for your support over the years. I guess I'd like to just end my speech by saying thank you to all of the great players that I played with and against over the years, because to me, one of the things that I came away with that mean more to me than anything else, both coaching and playing, were the friends that I made along the way, people that I still am friends with today. I can't imagine what my world would be like if it weren't for baseball. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Our final inductee for the first half of our ceremony is in the team category, and it's the Gladstone Whips from 1997 to 2001. Little background, Gladstone Whips were formed in 1988 and quickly surpassed the competition in the Gladstone Men's Fastball League. Teams' desire to compete at a higher level led them to the South Central Fastball League and eventually to the Winnipeg Fastball League. The core of the team was 11 players that grew up together and competed in junior, then intermediate A, then senior open, and then to the senior A category. The group regularly competed at tournaments in Saskatchewan, Ontario, and the northern United States, adding several tournament wins to their list of accomplishments. The Gladstone Whips extended their winning ways to provincial and Western Canadian championships, capturing the gold medal at the Western Canadian Intermediate A Championship in 1999, the silver medal at the Western Canadian Senior Open in 2000, and the bronze medal at the Western Canadian Senior Open in 2001. That path led them to compete at the Softball Canada Senior A Men's Championship in Winnipeg the following year in 2002. Gladstone Whips were a team that was blessed with the support of an entire town, the desire to improve, and the willingness to add the necessary parts to make their team Hall of Fame caliber. Please welcome to the team category of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, the 1997 to 2001 Gladstone Whips. Team members, if they'll come up and accept their awards. Blair Adamson. John Blair. Cliff Bishop.
Congratulations, there, Cliff. You're welcome, brother.
Gregg Bowden.
Congratulations, Gregg. Just get over here a little bit. Smug.
Don Campbell.
I can tell you a story about that. Scrap. Don't go there. Back in the hockey days. Just gotta get that there. Thanks, brother.
Wade Campbell. Accepting Wade's plaque, Tyler Olson.
Hey, little man. Congratulations, everybody. Just get you going with that thing.
Wayne Discower.
Congratulations, everybody. Just get a mug shot here. We'll put it in the paper.
Les Elchuk.
Congratulations, brother. See, another one for your manual.
Jason Ferguson.
Congratulations, Jason. Let's get a picture here. Put it in the treasure chest.
Mike Foster.
Congratulations, Mike.
Spike, thank you very much, sir.
Get over here, brother. Bring it towards your tummy there, buddy.
I don't have one.
No, you're an athlete. I can work on that. Oh! We gotta blink.
Who's blinking, me or Murray?
One of us.
Garth German. Accepting on behalf of Garth is Cameron Bowden.
Congratulations, everybody. We're just gonna take a picture right here. No, you just stand
Gord Hall.
Congratulations, everyone. Just get a picture there. Get the flag there. Raise it up.
Dave McCaskill.
Congratulations, Dave.
Dean McBride.
Congratulations, Dean. Get a mug shot. Puts the numbers.
Rob McIver.
Congratulations, everyone. Thank you. Just get a shot here.
Jim Nicholson. Jim's award being accepted by Julia McIver. Bruce Olson.
Congratulations, Bruce. Thank you, Murray. Just get a picture here.
Rob Olson.
Congratulations, Rob.
Jamie Scarf.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Frank Sue.
Hey, Frankie. Good job there, brother. Come on over here when you're done. Brother.
Don Smoke.
Congratulations, Don.
Rod Speck.
Congratulations. Just get a shot here. Got your cheering section.
Gregg Waldvogel.
Congratulations, Boch. Thank you. Shot here.
I'd like to ask Les Elchuk to come up and say a few words on behalf of the team.
Good evening, and first of all, congratulations to all of our inductees this evening. Murray was right. This is an opportunity for all of our players and coaches and supporters of softball, fastball to get together for an evening and share old stories. This is where the ball players look at all the pitchers around the room and say, I think I hit a home run off him, and him. I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, I struck out against him, and him. We also know that this is the evening where the home runs went further and the batting averages got higher. The Gladstone Whips, this version of them, as Bruce mentioned, started in 1988. A group of 11 local boys, and along the way they added some veterans, and they knew where they wanted to add their pieces to make their team better, but it was always a desire for them to play better ball, be competitive, and really test their skills against the best. It was in 1999 where all of that came together at the Western Canadian Intermediate Championship in Fort McMurray, where the team defeated Edmonton in the final, and Dave McCaskill was the tournament MVP. The next year in Victoria, the team had a really good run in the playoff round and unfortunately lost the final to Duncan. But in that tournament, Frankie Sue was the most outstanding pitcher. We finished with a bronze medal at the 2001 Western Canadians, and that was a really good run for any team. But along the way, none of this is possible without the support that this team received from the community of Gladstone, the superfans, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention superfan Doreen. Also, the parents, and if you look at some of the boys here, it was their dads that played on the previous version of the Whips that brought them along. So the mums and dads, the grandparents, the uncles and aunts, and the good supporting cast from Gladstone. So anytime you have a team being inducted, there are a lot of people that are responsible for it, not just the people you see here on stage tonight. In closing, I will say it's really important for everyone here to know there's one person on this team that was the glue for the team, that did the organizing, did the recruiting, made sure that we all we had a focus in mind, and that was Rob Olson. He was the one. He put in the countless hours of on the phone and recruiting players for this tournament or that tournament or looking forward to the next year and trying to make the team better. So Gladstone Whips, I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this great opportunity and wish everyone all the best.
That finishes the first half of our induction ceremony. We're going to take a brief intermission and come back with 4 more individuals and 1 more team. So we'll take about a 10-minute break. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin with the second half of our induction ceremony. Like our first half, we will be inducting 4 individuals and 1 team. Our first inductee in the second half of our ceremony is in the athlete category, Jim Pomeroy. Jim Farmer Pomeroy was raised on a family farm near Alexander and began his softball career as a young lad at Alexander School and with Vincent Massey High School. Jim helped form the High Ballers Clubbers Fastball Club of the Brandon Commercial Fastball League in 1970. Team joined the Brandon Centennial Fastball League in 72 and played there until 75, winning the league championship that final year. Jim was asked to join the Senior A Pizza Place Merchants in 1976 and played first base with this team through many sponsorship name changes. He was one of a core group of players that won several league championships and represented Manitoba at the Western Canadian B Championships on 2 separate occasions. He was honored as the All-Star first baseman at the 79 Western B Championship. After his playing days were through, Jim continued his involvement in softball by coaching his daughter and then son's softball and baseball teams. Jim passed away in 2005, but is remembered through the many lifetime friendships and memories that he shared with his family and teammates. Please welcome to the athlete category of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, Jim Pomeroy. Here to accept the award is his son, Trevor.
I'd like to call my mom and sister up. Oh, they've arrived. Thanks, Bruce. Always do a great job. First, congratulations to all the other inductees this evening. Everybody's very well deserving of this award. Thanks to Murray Blight, the man behind me, for all his hard work and the nomination process and all the members of the selection committee. I'm very proud to be here tonight with my sister, Jana, and my mom, Judy. We're honored to celebrate Dad's induction into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. We know Dad would be so pleased to be receiving this recognition, and we gratefully accept it on his behalf. Dad played the game hard, but fair. Whether it was double headers at Curran Park, under the lights, Charlie Croup, or in North Dakota at a long weekend tournament, you knew he'd be ready to play. Farmer, as his teammates called him, always seemed to be able to make a key play at first base or come up with a timely hit to keep the Brandon bench alive. He was a vocal infielder who was known for his chatter, either from first base or the dugout. Sometimes maybe a bit too much chatter. As a first baseman, he used to tease a certain teammate that his throws weren't hard enough from shortstop. So the odd time, this didn't happen very often, but the odd time when they would take infield, he would drop his glove and catch the throws from short barehanded. I won't disclose who this player was, Jiven. He didn't like this one bit, but he was a real good sport about it. The guys Dad played with were a special bunch. They always made sure the sons felt like they were part of the team. This was a pretty cool feeling for the young boys. During the 70s and 80s, fastball was Jim's life. 79 was a special year. He was selected All-Star first baseman in Lethbridge at the Western Canadians. He loved every minute on the diamond. It was on those diamonds and at the after parties where lifelong friendships were made. Many of those friends are here with us today. On behalf of my mom and sister, I would like to thank those friends for being here tonight. Farmer always liked to see a full dugout. Lastly, to our family who have traveled here from Victoria, Calgary, and Saskatoon, thank you very much for being here to share this induction evening with us. It means a lot. And to Farmer, thanks for hitting one out tonight.
Did you want to get a picture with the three of you holding the award? There, here, it's right there. Oh. I'm just thinking that would be good while you're having it right there. Go ahead. It was Bruce's idea.
Our next inductee, also in the athlete category, is Gregg Waldvogel. Gregg Waldvogel distinguished himself as an all-around athlete long before he became a quality fastball pitcher, playing junior A hockey with the Selkirk Steelers, and as a position player and hitter on the ball teams he played for. Gregg began his career playing for his high school team in Killarney and then joined the Killarney Sanders Fastball Club in 1979. From there, he played with several top-level teams in the 80s and 90s in Winnipeg, Minto, and Portage La Prairie, competing in 2 Softball Canada Senior A Men's Championships, as well as several world tournaments held in the United States. In 1992, Gregg and the Portage Diamonds finished 10th in the 48-team International Softball Congress World Tournament, which was held in Salt Lake City, Utah. Gregg captured 15 provincial championships during his career, was Manitoba's top senior men's player in 2003, and was named top pitcher at the Western Canadian Masters Championship in 2013. He's contributed to the game as a player coach, and a mentor for close to 4 decades. Please welcome to the athlete category of the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, Gregg Waldvogel.
Thank you. This is for the catchers out there who thought I couldn't see the signals. You'll notice I'm not still wearing glasses, so I'm going to take this as it is. This induction is indeed an honor and a highlight of my sporting career. I think I realize what a big deal it is when you look at the previous winners and present inductees. Congratulations to all inductees that are awarded here tonight. I would also like to thank Kevin Bartley for nominating me, and my wife Tracy for understanding and patience, allowing me to travel so extensively when the boys were very young. Also my mom and dad, who were always my biggest fans. I consider myself fortunate to have played with some great teams and great people throughout the years. I'd like to mention some of the people and teams who have helped me along the way. Some of the teams I played with included Killarney Sanders, Portage Diamonds, Manitoba Merchants, Minto Mustangs, Gladstone Whips, and Portage Phillies. When I hit the magical age of 40, which is never good except for fastball, I was able to play Masters with the Toledo Mud Hens, Portage Phillies, and Clan William Grays. We had some real success at Western Canadians, and it was nice to play with my own age group for a change. A lot of our Phillies team, we were very young in Portage, and it reminded me a lot of a high school field trip when we went to tournaments. I felt like a chaperone, so this was nice to be in my own age group. It was during my Portage Phillies years that the designated hitter option came into play, which basically meant the end of my batting days, unfortunately. They decided that I would stick to pitching and let someone else hit. I just told myself they didn't want me getting tired running the bases all day. I was very fortunate to have some exceptional pitching mentors and teammates along the way. I'd like to mention Gary Magwood, Cliff Bishop, Brian Pallister, and Bev Workman. All competitors and great to learn from and great teammates. Every catcher would tell you every pitcher is only as good as his catcher, and I would like to mention a couple. Kevin Bartley, although I learned after a couple of years when I shook him off, the one year I actually heard him, I shook him off, I could hear him telling the batter what was coming. So that came to a very, very quick end. Les Elchuk always kept me on my toes when I had to turn it up a notch because it was embarrassing if he's throwing the ball back harder than I'm throwing it in there. Gary Single, Blake Spiller, and Cliff McCartney are all big parts of my playing years. Over the years, I was able to compete in several Western Canadians and North American championships as well as ISC Worlds. I think when people ask you what you remember, I always remember the provincials where you have those 9 or 10 games on a weekend to finally get a provincial championship. Those are ones that certainly ring true for me. Finishing my playing days in Portage was very enjoyable with a young competitive team. I started playing before my boys were born and finished with us all on the same team, so that was a cool experience. Portage has been a I feel like Gretzky when he got traded to LA there. Portage has been a fastball hotbed over the years, and that's what kind of kept me going. I'd like to recognize a few of the volunteers, and they're here tonight. Larry Dewis and the Dewis clan, Scott and Jay, Ferdy Nelson, Mark Verway, and Dale Descower, big parts of the Portage fastball program. I've come to realize that the volunteers are the backbone to the success of any program, league, and tournament. In closing, I got into the game because I enjoyed it, but I kept playing because of the people. Thank you.
Thanks, Gregg. Our next inductee, also in the athlete category, is Edgar Stevenson Jr. Edgar Stevenson Jr. was born in Rivers and then moved to Peguis, where he followed in his father's footsteps, who was well known in that softball community. Edgar was recognized at the school level for his athleticism and played softball with school teams in Peguis and then at Daniel McIntyre Collegiate in Winnipeg. He began playing softball with the local Peguis senior men's team when he was 12 years old. Edgar became a strong contributor to the success of the teams for whom he played, often being the top hitter as well as top pitcher for those teams. In 1989, Edgar was the top pitcher at the Western Canadian Bantam Championship as he helped his team win a gold medal, and that same year helped the Manitoba Summer Games team to a bronze medal. He was awarded top male player and top male minor player by Softball Manitoba. In 1990, Edgar was recognized at the National Midget Championships, winning individual awards for All-Star Pitcher and Top Hitter for the tournament. The following year, Edgar received the Top Player Award in the playoffs at the National Midget Championships while helping the Landmark Knights win the silver medal. In October of '91, a car accident ended the life of 17-year-old Edgar Stevenson. This tragic event ended the chances for the softball community to witness the career that his potential indicated was possible. The Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame has created the Edgar Stevenson Memorial Award to honor his love and passion for the game. Please welcome to the athlete category, the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, Edgar Stevenson Jr. Here to accept the award is Edgar's father, and Bernie Neufeld will say a few words on behalf of the family.
Good evening. I and our team in Landmark, the Landmark Knights, benefited from Edgar's presence and contribution to the softball in our community, and which actually carried right across Manitoba and Canada. And I first met Edgar in early in 1989. He was practicing at the age of 14 with the Manitoba Canada Summer Games team. And our son was playing there as well. And one evening when David, our son, came home, he said, "Dad, you've got to take a look at this player that's practicing and playing with this team, the same team that he was trying out for as well." And I think he's pretty young, David mentioned. So sure enough, I went to the next practice. And of course, his dad, Edgar Sr. here, was there too. And we got introduced. I watched this young phenom throw a ball, especially throw a ball. He could also hit, but especially throw a ball pitching. And got to know them a little bit. And I asked whether he might consider letting Edgar Jr. play with our Bantam team in the provincials, which were coming up that next spring and summer. And sure enough, a friendship was made with the family and with young Edgar. And as soon as he joined our team, he made a huge difference in the attitude of the other boys as well, and just by his leadership and skills as a pitcher. That first year in 1989 in the Bantam Provincials in Winkler, we were supposed to be runners-up. And the Winkler team was the favored one. And in fact, they had already made plans to go to the Western Canadians in BC, had travel plans and accommodation plans set out. But something stood in the way, and that was our team led by Edgar. We got into trouble playing the Winkler home team at that time, I remember, in that tournament. And I remember asking his dad, what do you think if I put Junior in now? Will he be able to handle this kind of situation, or should I wait for the start of a game? He said, no, put him in, and he can pitch all night, or all day. Won't be a problem. So we did, and that turned the whole game around. We won that particular game. We won the provincial Bantam championship in Manitoba. And as you already heard, we also went on then to win the Western Canadian Bantam Championship in BC. And Edgar was a really big part of that. You also heard that he played on our team in 1990 and 91 in the midget category, where we didn't fare quite as well, but that was then a national competition. So the first year we finished 4th in Ontario, and then in 1991 we actually got to the gold medal game in Nova Scotia, but we lost to Saskatchewan in a close game. And again, Edgar won the awards that were alluded to before. And I just wanted to mention a few things about him as a pitcher. For example, his coolness and precision stood out. He had good stuff and, of course, excellent control. And some said he didn't throw very hard, but I can tell you he threw very, very hard. One time at the tournament in Saskatoon, he threw a high, hard one right through our catcher's glove, tearing the leather laces in the process. And he also didn't seem to get rattled by a bad call from the ump or a poor play by his teammates. His typical reaction would be to smile and slightly shrug his shoulders and play on. And as a hitter, he could hit the ball hard and far, especially up the middle, many, many times. And he did the surprising moves. He wasn't afraid to do the unexpected. For example, bunt. I mean, he was a power hitter, but he could bunt. And on some very crucial situations, he actually laid down a bunt and kept a rally going or scored a run, whatever the case may be. And he did this on his own. He wasn't called to bunt. And another time, he and his catcher decided, and this was in the Ontario tournament, they were going to do a double steal. And again, I had not called for a double steal at all. Suddenly I'm looking up and here's Edgar coming to third and David is moving to second. And they both made it. Luckily for them, they said afterwards. Otherwise, they might have heard from me. But anyway, he also has a privilege of having a very good family and friends and home community support. They would always come out to watch his games, no matter where it seemed. And tonight is another good example. I think there are 4 tables of Peguis people or friends of the Stevenson family here tonight, showing that they still support him. And he not only played well himself, he helped those around him play well too, and also helped make the coach look good. I am very grateful and fortunate to have been able to coach him. It's actually quite easy. Just give him the ball, the pitch, and a bat, put him third or fourth in our lineup card. That was it. And I'm also very grateful to have made a good and lasting friendship with his family as well. It's been much appreciated. We lost a great ball player, a tremendous teammate, a very fine young man, much too early in his and our lives. Now he's in the Hall of Fame, never to be forgotten. Well done, Eddie. Rest in peace. The family also wanted me to thank Manitoba Softball and the selection committee for selecting Eddie for this award. And on their behalf and mine, thank you very much.
Our final individual inductee for the night is in the all-around category, and it's Reice Pelletier. Reice began his career as a softball coach in 1981, coaching his own daughter at the Southdale Community Club in Winnipeg. By '87, his passion for the sport of softball became evident as he went on to serve as Dakota Community Club convener. During his 8-year tenure, Reice helped the softball program grow from 6 to 50 teams, supported coaches taking Softball Manitoba coaching clinics to develop their own skills, and developed an umpire system for all Dakota home games. Reice became part of the Women's Lightning Softball Association in 1995, and over the next 11 years, Lightning teams qualified for 8 national championships, earning 1 silver and 2 bronze medals. As a volunteer away from coaching, Reice served as president of Bonnie Vittel Minor Softball, was elected as minor director for Softball Manitoba's board of directors, served as minor chair for the first 5 years under the restructured Softball Manitoba board, co-chaired the 1993 Midget A National Championship, and was technical advisor to the 1990 Western Canada Summer Games. Reice was also a participant in the MSA Reorganizing Committee and has served on the Softball Manitoba Advisory Board. Reice Pelletier has demonstrated a significant contribution to the development of the sport of softball through his dedicated service, and is a worthy inductee into the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame. Please welcome in the all-around category, Reice Pelletier.
I do need the cheaters. At this time, I'd like to thank the selection committee for this honor and for Wayne Miller for nominating me. I very much appreciate it. I'd also like to thank my family for joining me here this evening. And there's one rowdy table back there, my friends from Winnipeg and Brandon. Thank you for coming out and help me celebrate this as well. It's been mentioned by a few athletes up here too that whether you're coaching or playing, at some point in time you have a spouse that requires your support as well. And at this time I'd like to thank Joanne for all her patience and over the years of all our travel to and from nationals and tournaments and all the meetings you're rather obligated to attend in doing some of these administrative duties. But thank you, Joe. In looking through the program this evening, there's a long list of inductees into this Hall of Fame. And there's several in there that I'd like to point out that were very important to me in my career as mentors and friends, and encouraged me and all of our teams along the way. And in no particular order, Bobby Turner, who started the Lightning organization. Jim Adams, who I got to know later in his career at Softball Manitoba, actually made 2 careers through the board of directors and was very important in my life. There's like a young couple sitting down here in front of us that were very important for me too, and I'm proud and humbled to be in the Hall of Fame with them, Roy and Evelyn Holinsky. When I first got into the board of directors, one of the first people I came to know was Brian McDowell, who was president of Softball Manitoba and also went on to run the softball complex at John Bloomberg. So he was important in my life. And finally to Mike Pyle, who I coached with for a number of years and still a very good friend. So I'm proud and humbled to be in the Hall of Fame with those particular individuals. So if you're coaching minor ball, that you usually somehow get encouraged to participate as a coach when you go to registrations and your daughter's on a team, but they don't have a coach. So that was my first experience with my youngest daughter. Went to Southdale to get her on a team, and who should be the registrar for that particular afternoon was my new boss at the Bank of Montreal, his wife. And she approached me and said, "Reice, would you like to coach?" And so I thought, politically, I guess the correct answer is yes. So my first iteration of coaching was I kind of got tricked into coaching. I coached there for a number of years in Southdale and then moved over to Dakota, where it was mentioned that I helped develop the Dakota program. My second iteration of coaching was with the Lightning team. And a good friend of mine, Mike Pyle, who I'd curled with for a number of years, approached me and he said, "Reice, you've got some coaching background. Chuck and I are putting this team together. How would you like to join us to coach?" And I thought, "Oh, 3 coaches? Well, okay, this could likely work." So anyway, I go to the first practice and I say, "Mike, where's Chuck?" "Oh, Chuck quit. It's just you and me." So it was the second time I got tricked into coaching. But that lasted another 10 or 12 years, and that's where we seem to have a lot of success, especially with our Lightning 86 team, which was, we were able to go to nationals 6 times out of the 7 years we coached that group of kids. In kind of putting this together, I think I kind of had maybe 3 separate categories of highlights that encompassed my career. The first one was my coaching career with the Lightning and with Southdale and the success we had there, especially our Lightning 86 team. And as Ashley mentioned, I'll try not to shed any tears too, Ashley, but she's absolutely right. They weren't just kids to coach, they became family. Not only the players, but the parents, and it's friendships that I've made with that group of people over that long period of time that'll last a lifetime. So Ashley, you're 100% right, it's family. The other component to it was my time spent on Softball Manitoba Board of Directors. As was mentioned, when the Board of Directors was reorganized, I was the first minor chair under that group. Under that group of directors, we managed to put forth a lot of good programs to grow the game of softball and to make it a better game to play. And finally, my third highlight would be the events I've been able to participate with as an administrator. Pan Am Games, as was mentioned, Canada Summer Games, and too numerous others to mention. Ashley, I'm going to point you out once again. if I had one regret in my whole career in softball, especially with the Lightning '86, it was in the year 2003 when we went to Guelph for the midget nationals. We were an 17-year-old team rather, and we thought we had a good team, but we didn't know how good a team we had. Marion Newsham said, "You guys have to have more confidence. You're a very good team." We made one pickup to go, and if we had it to do all over again, we would have taken Ashley. And I'm positive we would have come back with the gold medal. As it was, we came back with the silver, but we ran out of pitching towards the end. Ashley would have just been the difference, and I think we would have come home with a gold medal. So Ashley, sorry we didn't take you. Our mistake. Finally, as Les Elchuk pointed out, this is a time to gather and talk about old stories and who did what. And through all of the speakers, I've not heard anybody come up with any stories. So I'm going to take the liberty of telling you one of my favorite. If I told you all of them, we'd be late for the Monday night Jets game. So anyway, this one is my favorite. It was, again, in the 2003 Midget Nationals in Guelph. And we had kind of befriended a twosome of coaches from the University of Alabama. They were there scouting for potential grads to come and play college ball with them. One was an older chap, about my age, and one a younger guy. And they always sat right next to our dugout. And in one particular game, when this young lady we had, she was hitting about 6th or 7th in our lineup. And in about the second inning, she hits a home run to right field. Later in the game, she hits a home run to left field. And as she's rounding third base, heading for home, as John Fogarty would say, the older of the two coaches leaned into our dugout and said in his southern drawl, "Boys, I think you have that girl hitting in the wrong position." So anyway, thanks once again for this selection. Much appreciated, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
Speaking of the Jets, for anyone wondering, 0-0 after the first period. Our final inductee for the night is in the team category, and it's the Mariapolis Blues from 1976 to 1978. Teams of skilled players can achieve success in sport, but when the team is built from a community of less than 100 people, it's extraordinary. Primarily comprised of local farmers, the Mariapolis Blues of 1976 to 1978 were built on a foundation of dedication, hard work, and passion for the game of fastball. After several years of dominating the South Central Fastball League, the Blues decided to join the Southwest Major Fastball League in 1976. In 1977, Blues were crowned league champions after being able to defeat their nemesis, Killarney Sanders, in a playoff series. The team also competed in the Provincial C Championship that year. In 1978, the team continued to play in the Southwest Major Fastball League, losing in the league final, and went on to compete in the Provincial C Championships and were runners-up, losing the championship game 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th inning. One of the greatest highlights for the Mariapolis Blues came in 1976 as they won the gold medal at the Manitoba Games held in Nipoua. To earn the privilege of attending the games, the Blues had to first win a district and then a regional playoff. More than 3 decades after play on the ball field has ended, the legacy remains strong. Reunions have been held after 10, 25, and 35 years to reconnect and remember the games. The gloves and bats of the Mariapolis Blues may be stored away, but the memories are still in play. Please welcome to the team category, the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, the Mariapolis Blues. Players for the Blues: Gilles Bazin, Kevin Bauer. Kevin was the bat boy. Manager of the team, Wayne Bauer. Brian Charette. Accepting on behalf of Brian is his son, Dane. Tom Charette. Bob Conabear.
Congratulations, young fella.
Leonard DeRook.
Congratulations, Emperor. Mug shot here.
Wayne Discower. Seeing double, Wayne was also part of the Gladstone Whips team that was inducted tonight.
I get a shed a tear. Congratulations, brother.
Ken DeSmit.
Congratulations, Emerson. That picture there, just up straight there, my friend.
Gabriel DeSpiegler. Accepting on Gabriel's behalf is son Danton.
Congratulations, young fella. Straight here. Sandy will get that. Wow. Very good, buddy. Right to the chest.
Dennis DeRoche.
Congratulations there. Thank you. We'll just give that a shot there.
Robert Fiola, who is not with us here tonight. Daryl Fisher.
Congratulations, bro.
Lionel Fisher.
You're welcome. Congratulations there, my friend. Sandy will get us a picture right up close.
Roger Foss.
Congratulations
Rennie Legal. Bruce McKay.